Good morning, guys. My name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube. I haven't gone out with Max yet, so I'm preparing to take my dog out for a walk. I'm an independent woman. I live by myself. I'm going to throw the rubbish out, take my dog out for a walk, and just occupy myself for the rest of the day and not go into TikTok, basically. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning. On this day in 2007, the acclaimed series The Sopranos aired its final episode. Over its 6-season run, it won 21 Emmys and 5 Golden Globes. Pretty impressive for a show about waste management.
Alexa, what's the time, please?
It's 10:08 a.m.
Alexa, what's the date today?
It's Tuesday the 10th of June.
Alexa, what's the weather outlook?
In Rochester, it's 17 degrees Celsius with cloudy skies. Today, you can expect showers, with a high of 23 degrees and a low of 11 degrees.
Alexa, can you tell me a joke?
What is Spider-Man's ideal job? A web designer.
Alexa, which celebrities were born on this day?
Celebrities born on the 10th of June include Carlo Ancelotti, Prince Philip, Judy Garland, Elizabeth Hurley, and Bill Burr.
Prince Philip sadly is no longer with us. He was obviously the Queen's husband, and the Queen is no longer with us. So it would have been Prince Philip's birthday today. Today I'm not doing a lot. I'm gonna come back from walking my dog, and I'm writing up my journal, which I hopefully will turn into a book one day. Who knows? So I've been sat in my flat sofa waiting for the other YouTube video to upload, and we've just had banging from next door. Just banging and a child running up and down, which is nothing, because if I put fans on and I listen to music I can't hear it. But that is what's here at the moment. I have deleted TikTok, and I'm going to remain keeping the app deleted, because that is where the abuse is coming from. The messages first thing in the morning, how are you? And they start banging next door and making a rumpus and a racket. Apart from that, the neighbour that way is quiet. The neighbour upstairs has gone out, so it's just me and next door. I think she's a single mum with kids, which is hard work, and I appreciate that. That's why I just put music on and just drown the noise out. I was practicing my karaoke, a bit of that. I've finished with that, and then I'm just gonna obviously take Max out for a walk. I'm not getting anything today. I don't know what's going to be in the post, but I'm not ordering anything today. My mother, Jennifer, has just rung the phone. She rang it just now. I didn't answer it because I'm going to remain steadfast in what I'm saying, and I am tired of being ridiculed, mocked, made fun of, and looked to be a fool when I'm not. I'm an intelligent person, and I know what they're all doing, and their play toy is gone and finished with. Play with something else. Dog toy indeed. Sun's come out for a bit. No, I'm not having any of their shenanigans. And they can all see what what it's like without me now, and they can have that. Thieving, stealing off me, making fun of me. Well, they can reap what they sow. Alexa, LBC Radio.
LBC London from Global Player.
Believe in anything and you are flip-flopping and flim-flamming and wobbling all over the place. So that's question number one. Book your place early on the switchboard for that one. 03456060973. Then the bit that's a little uncomfortable And it was partly informed by a caller to yesterday's programme, and it was the point about, I don't know if this is true, the point about a kind of legacy of very warm sentiment towards older generations that is post-war. So when I was growing up, people of a certain age had either served in or survived the Second World War. It was a chronological given. It was a simple, it wasn't an opinion, it was counting. And that meant that any attempt to render their existence less pleasant than it currently was felt quite repellent, actually. I wonder whether Captain Tom was one of the last emblems of this national feeling, this idea that the people who fought in the war, or the people who survived the war, had a different status in our collective consciousness than people who didn't. The fight against Nazism in particular being so acute and so clearly understood that people actively involved in it assumed a status among the rest of the population that was unquestioned. You deserve to be looked after because of the Second World War. And the caller suggested yesterday that the legacy, that feeling survives. It explains the political reluctance to do anything that might diminish the existence of pensioners, even though now they are unlikely to have had anything at all to do with the Second World War. They are categorically not going to have fought in it, or they are highly unlikely to have survived it. So we've still got that. I don't want to say fetishization. It's two reasons. One, it's a word I use far too much, and it conjures up images of sort of gimp suits. Nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I'm just saying it's not helpful necessarily in the context of this conversation. And reason number two is that it sounds like a negative. And I don't necessarily want it to sound like a negative. What would be a better word to use in this context about the kind of, it's a reverence that we adopt for the older generation. There's a political pragmatism to it as well, because you are more likely to vote. And remember, as I speak, I edge ever closer to the category that I'm describing. When I first started doing this job, I don't think I could conceive of ever being an old age pensioner myself. Nowadays, there are mornings when I can't wait to retire. No offence, Keith, but that's just the way it goes. I kind of find myself thinking that the political pragmatism of looking after people who are more likely to vote is only part of the story. Why was the winter fuel policy so unpopular, despite the fact that it would only have affected, I mean, really negatively, a very small number of people? Most pensioners could have afforded it, which is leading us towards the next question, by the way. So that bit there about why we revere old people, and whether we should continue to do so in the context of the post-war period. Because listen, nearly 500,000 pensioners, that's the only figure of pensioners who haven't repaid their mortgage. The massive majority of home-earning pensioners have paid off their mortgage entirely, and now they're getting a cut-off point of £35,000, which is why I use the word reverence, because that doesn't seem to me to make economic sense. You know, how many people listening to this programme now are getting by, even raising a family, on less than that? I sometimes get very embarrassed by the level of shock that I feel when I'm exposed to other people's economic reality. We all live in bubbles, and none of us are perfect, but I mean, sometimes you listen to people who do what I do for a living and seem to be utterly unaware of what poverty looks like. The idea that you can run out of money before you run out of month. The idea that people can't actually afford that. Just the concept of nothing seems to be beyond a lot of people who work in the media and on the right of British politics. The concept of nothing. Concept of running out of money before you have run out of month, and not being able to, you know, rely on your overdraft or phone your mum, or just not literally being able to get your hands on a few quid to tide you over until payday. God only knows what you do if the boiler blows up, or if the car breaks down, or if you have a massive outlay in circumstances where you can't afford to even look after little outlays. But I still get gobsmacked when I learn about the threshold for getting free school meals, for example, and the number of families families that are in that threshold, even before the government announced its changes this week. The idea that you're getting by on less than 10 grand a year, and you discover now that the government thinks that for pensioners, for people who aren't working, an income of £35,000, or an income, to go all Mr. McCorber on you again, an income of £34,999 is so low that you need help paying your heating bills, but only if you're an old age pensioner. An income of £34,999 is sufficiently low to merit an extra payment when people are going to be working full time and raising families on a fraction, not a fraction, but on in some cases considerably less than that sum. So there are two questions here, possibly three, maybe even more. Depends how much attention you've been paying. The first is the simple politics of the policy reversal, the policy U-turn, for good or for ill, weakness or strength. And do they emerge from this better than they went into it? 03456060973. And the second is a very personal question. I just want you to tell me, and I'm not going to over-egg this pudding, because I really want you to come at me with the straight-up answer to the question of how that figure of £35,000 hits you. I can't really play myself this game for reasons that I've just outlined. My luck and privilege is such that it is a question that's almost beyond my ken. But how does it hit you? That figure of £35,000, whether you're a pensioner on one side of it or t'other, or whether you're nowhere near pension age, how does that figure of £35,000 hit you? 0345 6060 973. And just to put the pressure on, a quick word from Vinny, who got in touch a few moments ago to say, "Hi James, I just wanted to mark the quality of the callers on yesterday's show, especially the Americans." And he adds, "Surely our show has the highest quality callers in the history of talk radio." And I love two things about that. Number one, the obvious truth of the compliment. He's absolutely right. And number two, he says our show. But don't text me again and tell me it was a typo and you've missed off the Y, because I love the fact you've put our show. That's kind of why I get out of bed every morning. It is our show, and the quality of the calls is the highest in the business. And guess what? You're about to prove it.
LPC Standards at William Hill Vegas.